What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring people to do better, love better, live better, look better, be better athletes, feel better every day of their lives. And our midweek show brought to you by our friends at Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar and Front 43 Neighborhood Pub. That's on East Saginaw, just near the border of East Lansing and Lansing, just barely in Lansing. And if you're looking for a place to watch any of the championship games this weekend, or simply to play hooky and watch this midweek Premier League soccer that's happening right now, which is incredible, Front 43 and Cask & Company are the place for you. Outstanding offerings for happy hour. Great lunch stuff going on. MSU game specials if you want to go watch during the Michigan State-Louisville game on Wednesday night. If you're looking for a place for that, Cask & Company and Front 43. Jason, how you doing, man?
Cockburn. That's what you get for bringing up soccer so early.
I apologize.
In the show. By the way, you can also buy Couch in the Rube products for your loved ones for the Christmas holidays, as Kay says on Twitter. Jason, I was hoping to buy some merch and support the show, but this is the worst-looking collection of apparel I have ever seen. Please tell Graham Couch to do better.
Wow, it's immediately on me, huh? Well, if you,
yeah. Well, sorry, Kay. We're trying to put something out for the holidays.
We're doing the best we can, and we'll evolve. But I think what we have is pretty cool. We tweeted it out the other night. I'll tweet it out again tonight. It's also on our Facebook page. Very easy to find the link to our store for hoodies and T-shirts. And so, a couple different options there of sayings, and also just the Couch and the Rube logo if that's something you want. And if you're like Kay and you're waiting for something better, hopefully at some point we'll have something better. Today, going to be an interesting show here. A lot of stuff going on with the Brian Kelly situation. That was interesting. Yeah. College football is just kind of a shitstorm all of a sudden. Coaches leaving left and right. Mel Tucker reset the whole.
Mel Tucker is the Matthew Stafford of college football coaches. The same thing happened with Stafford. Everybody's freaking out about how much Stafford made, and then a week later, I think Kirk Cousins was the highest paid.
Yeah, Mel Tucker set a market that's going to make him, I don't know if it'll be a bargain soon, but certainly his
Lincoln Riley. I mean, Brian Kelly, they should thank Mel Tucker.
Sure.
I mean, come on. Those deals, the deal Lincoln Riley got.
It looks pretty amazing. They're going to sell his house. The selling his houses for him, the fact that he had two houses in Norman was interesting, but the fact they're going to sell his houses isn't that rare. Companies used to sell executives and editors and houses all the time.
Still badass.
It's badass. But the stuff they're giving him in L.A. is pretty amazing. And I get it. Like, if I'm him, I'm like, wait a second. I got to go compete in the SEC, or I can go dominate the Pac-12. I'm going to go. The Brian Kelly thing, I kind of get too. Like, I think Brian Kelly just kind of wanted something new.
Yeah, but I think he screwed his players, though.
Okay, so let's talk about that real quick.
All right.
Because Mel Tucker, Midnight Mel, some people would say, left,
yeah,
and screwed his players. Everybody screws their players and they leave. And so we need to figure out a way for coaches to be able to move up and advance their careers, because Brian Kelly screwed Cincinnati in 2009 when he left. Those players aren't any less deserving. They were undefeated, I think, at the time, or maybe one loss. They aren't any less deserving than the Notre Dame players of having a coach.
Sure, but I'm just reading the story about the Notre Dame athletic director. Not surprised, because he could kind of sense that Brian Kelly was looking elsewhere. So Brian Kelly knew when the LSU job came open and they were talking to him, he was going to take that job, and then he sends a text to all of his players. It's just kind of weak, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't want it to come out, but it's going to break, and that's why.
And then have a meeting at 7:30 a.m. this morning. I mean, come on, can't we do it at noon?
Well, that's when they usually do it. These guys always meet early. They're not like us. They're used to being up.
If you're going to screw your players, I figured let them sleep in at least
before you officially announce it.
Yeah.
Here's what I think needs to happen, because I used to love the idea of the early signing period because it gets guys in, and they don't have to wait till February and all that stuff. But now it's a problem. If this is going to be the timeline, you got all these teams either playing in New Year's 6 games or even outside of having a playoff chance. Like now Luke Fickell, his dream job was Cincinnati. Or not Cincinnati. His dream job was Notre Dame. Like,
you got to go.
But now you finally get Cincinnati to the verge of the playoff. You can't go if you're going to the playoff.
Yeah, you can.
That was, like, I always thought that was Michigan State's best chance with Tucker, with not having to give him exorbitant money, was the idea that if Michigan State somehow got to the playoff, you're not going to leave before the playoff. Any other bowl game, you might leave. Brian,
but Luke Fickell sees that Notre Dame job, and he knows if I go undefeated, I'm making the college football playoff every time.
It worked out at Cincinnati, too. I think he would take that job under normal circumstances. I'll be curious to see if he would. Here's the remedy. It's a clear remedy. It's got to happen now. From Thanksgiving until the end of the championship game, which is about 6 weeks, it's a dead period for recruiting. Completely dark. You don't have any contact. If you do, that player can't come to you. Big fines, all sorts of show cause penalties, whatever. You don't talk to players for those 6 weeks. They went 2 years almost with dead periods because of COVID. They can do it. 6 weeks without it. You move signing day from the first week of February to the first week of March. So it's like March 1. And what that allows to happen is coaches don't feel like they have to – schools don't have to fill that spot overnight on this weekend. It allows you to make coaching changes later. It allows you not to feel like you're behind on recruiting when you do – I mean, and there would be situations where kids would still get screwed, but it would, I think, allow the process occasionally to have more dignity than it does right now. Because we can put it all on these coaches for the salaries or the way they're leaving these kids, but this is all on us. We have this, and look, I'm part of the machine. My living is based on people's love for alma mater, right? But our sort of absurd passion for our old college, for college sports, is what creates the market, is what creates the need to get recruits. And this guy left us, we'll go get him, and we can't stand, it's all created by the passion that's out there in college sports that doesn't exist anywhere out in the world. Elsewhere in the world, these are all pros, and everybody deals with it. Like in Europe, they look at us and go, the hell is going on over there?
Well, let me just say, I'm not blaming either one of those guys, Riley or Brian Kelly, for taking those crazy, insane deals. I'm just saying, I feel like, Lincoln Riley apparently had a 4-minute meeting with his players and then just bounced.
What are you going to do? What do you want it to be, 11 minutes like Kelly's?
Yeah, like
24 minutes?
You can't have like an hour where you reminisce and kind of move on.
I don't know if they want to hear it right then.
All right.
And
maybe,
a lot of times,
maybe the players liked it. But I just think Brian Kelly, the way he just sent out a text message, when I think he knew and he could have told his players in person before they found out.
Yeah, and this isn't the first job he's bounced on. He bounced on Cincinnati, fairly similar, bounced on CMU.
But I don't mind that. If the market's willing to pay it and you can do it, why not? If it's your dream gig.
The problem is all these coaching changes happen a month from signing day at the end of the season when the season's not over. Here's the problem, too. The season isn't over. You don't see in the NFL very often teams that are – you see firings, but you don't – well, I guess you do see some hirings after the regular season. But the season needs to be treated as if it's not over till the bowl seasons are over somehow. And the only way to give that a chance to happen is to go dark in recruiting and to push signing day back.
That'll never happen, though.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't know. I think this is pretty bad right now.
I don't disagree with your idea. I just don't see it happening because these schools want to make a huge jump right away if they can grab a guy and get on that recruiting trail already.
Because they're about to have even a bigger problem with the salaries.
Oh, yeah.
Because what's happening here, and there are a lot of schools that just can't afford to pay these, or they're looking at their donors and saying, can you help now and can we do this? The bigger problem is the players are soon going to have a case. You need to pay my ass. If this guy's getting $10 million, give him $5 million, split the $5 million between us. You need to be paying us. And like colleges, I've always been on the side of things that there's not as much money as people think. There's a lot of money out there. But when you talk about Title IX and like image and likeness is different, right? Because it's the free market dictates it. But when you start talking about paying people directly, it goes into Title IX, it goes into all this stuff. And there's not as much money for a lot of – well, but there's not a lot of money at a lot of schools. There are like 23 schools that can afford to do this, and everybody can't. And it's a lot more complex than people think. But when you start paying these salaries, you start to go, wait a second. And maybe football needs to be separated from all this, and maybe – I don't know. Well,
but they get an education, Graham.
I'm not saying there aren't benefits to it. And they get to be a football player at every party on campus. That's pretty cool.
But what happened to
unless you're Kirk Cousins and you waste it?
What about the video game that EA Sports could come out with? I don't know if they've come out with a new one or not. I'm not a video game guy, but I know they could split those profits. I mean, those video games make hundreds of millions of dollars. That revenue could go towards every player, not just individual star players.
Sure, there are lots of answers. I think it begins, though, with treating the players with respect, begins in bringing dignity to the process and allowing coaches still to move up. And I think it begins with going dark on recruiting for 6 weeks between Thanksgiving and the title game.
What's the cap on the coaches' salaries, though?
Well,
I mean, if Fickle goes to Notre Dame, they don't pay much, right?
They're not going to have a cap.
No, I'm just saying. When does it end is what I'm saying. I mean, is it $20 million a year for guys?
You know what it ends?
In the future?
You know what it ends? It ends when a school that's a true blue blood says, you know what, this is enough. And I don't know if that'll ever happen, but it would take a couple schools getting together and saying, we think there are enough good coaches out there, because there are. There are coaches every bit as good as the guys making $9.5 million. You just have to have the skill to unearth them if you're an athletic director, if you're a search firm, and people aren't very good at that. But you can find a coach who can be just as good as most of these guys for $5 million, for $4 million, and they're just not very good at it. So the other thing that happened, a couple things. One, we're going to have Nick Baumgardner on here in a little bit. Obviously covers Michigan football and Michigan State football for The Athletic, and we'll get into that whole situation with Michigan and their college football playoff chances, whether he saw Ohio State coming or that game and the college football playoff rankings. And so let's go there now, though, first with just you and I chatting about.
I really enjoy watching you sit here and watch the college football playoff ranking show when Gary Barta comes on. That's the only time I look at Graham. He just has that look in his eye. Just wants to jump through the TV.
Punch that guy. So Michigan State is number 11 in the latest college football rankings. We're recording this, obviously, on Tuesday evening, and those just came out. And that's a big deal because if everything happens, if all the favorites win this weekend, if Cincinnati wins and Michigan wins especially, Michigan State is almost, I wouldn't say assured, but they should be in a New Year's Six bowl. So there are lots of things that could still go wild and make things a little more dicey. But if Michigan and Cincinnati win, the reason being 11 was so important is the ACC right now, their champion is not going to be in the top 12. And maybe they'll get up there and whatever, but they're going to take a spot that's not part of things right now. So they were going to take one of the top 12 spots. You needed to be in the top 11 to get one of the New Year's Six bowl games. Michigan State is now 11. They leapfrogged Oklahoma, which fell a couple spots. And so now, if everything holds, Michigan State is going to the Fiesta Bowl or the Peach Bowl, which is pretty cool for them. And if they fall out, it's probably the Citrus Bowl in Florida, which I think, frankly, brand-wise is just as good as the Peach. I don't know why. That's a New Year's Day Bowl. The Citrus, the Peach is on December 30th. I know there's different cachet in the New Year's Six, but I don't know that most of the world thinks of the Citrus Bowl as below the Peach Bowl. The Fiesta Bowl is a little different. I think that all has brand recognition. Like when you think of the Fiesta Bowl, you think big games, you think national championship, you think a lot of things, right?
Yeah. Chips,
dips too.
A lot. Yeah, I guess so. But when you mention those bowl games, Graham, it doesn't get me excited. And I don't know if will Michigan State travel well to those New Year's Day games.
I think they will this year.
So
I don't know. Atlanta will be interesting, although I do think they'll go. If it's Pitt and Atlanta, if they're playing or something like that, I think they'll go. I think they'll be fired up. But you give them Florida with the Citrus Bowl, or especially, I think a lot of people really want the Fiesta Bowl. You give them Arizona, Phoenix, New Year's Day game, warm weather. I think people are jonesing to go. I think it'll be a pretty good showing for Michigan State fans. And I think Michigan State, we'll see who they play. I thought Notre Dame was a possibility. And I still think Notre Dame is a distinct possibility. They're going to have a different coach, Marcus Freeman.
Could Notre Dame sneak into the college football playoff?
It takes some wild stuff happening because they got jumped by Oklahoma State. So if Oklahoma State wins, almost. But if
Alabama loses
and Cincinnati loses, right? No, absolutely, they could still get in.
If Oklahoma State loses,
right? They don't actually. I don't think all of that to happen. If Alabama gets shelled by Georgia. And Alabama could get shelled by Georgia. Like Alabama's not as we get stuck on brands, and that's one of the reasons I think the Vegas spread is 6.5. And we'll get into our Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook picks in a little bit with Harry Gagnon.
Spite bet coming.
Ooh,
oh yeah,
I
had that Alabama Auburn over.
Yeah,
sucked.
Yeah, no, Alabama's just not what they've been. So we get stuck on brand, and I think that's
what we should, though. I mean, they've won like 11 championships in 15 years or whatever that number is.
Right, but I think it creates an opportunity right now at 6.5 to get on Georgia is what I'm saying.
Right.
And I think there's a chance also that winds up being a 2-3 touchdown game. And if it is, I think, is there a chance Notre Dame moves ahead of Alabama with a couple losses? I don't know.
So what if Brian Kelly leaves, Notre Dame gets into the college football playoff, and somehow makes it to the national championship game?
And wins a title. That would be amazing.
I mean, come on.
That would be absolutely.
That would be the best.
Absolutely amazing. No, it's kind of a wild year, and this is the way it should be. In the column I'm going to get into and write, what would be even cooler is if we were in the era of the 12-team playoff, which this week could be something that's even decided on. Because then we'd be talking about Michigan State in the playoff, Oregon in the playoff. All these teams, could they get in the playoff? And at number 11, who would they be playing? Well, right now, if the rankings held and they were 11, they would be playing Notre Dame, the number 6 seed, because the top 4 teams have a bye. And that might be a campus site game. Maybe it wouldn't be, but it could be a campus site game at Notre Dame, number 6 versus number 11. How fun would that be? Right? Yeah. To get to a semifinal, and if they won that game, to play the 3 seed, which would be Alabama right now. But that's not going to stick. The thing about Alabama has to play Georgia. I don't know that Alabama can possibly stay at 3 unless they lose by a field goal or something like that. And then maybe they deserve it. I don't know. It was a big night for Michigan State football, I think, in the sense that if you care that they're in a New Year's 6 game, and I know some people would much rather Michigan lose and Michigan State get bumped out of there and wind up playing in the Citrus Bowl than playing a New Year's 6 game. And I understand that line of thinking too.
Michigan loses. Michigan State doesn't get a bowl game at all.
I think there are Michigan State fans that would choose that too still. I think this hurts. For MSU fans. Would you choose that?
Oh, absolutely. Because like I said, you mentioned those bowl games and nothing really stood out to me, like the Fiesta. Okay. So, yeah, if it meant Michigan would lose to Iowa this Saturday, yeah, absolutely. No bowl game. We're done.
Yeah.
See you guys next year.
So we'll have, and obviously Michigan State basketball plays Louisville. That's Wednesday night. We'll talk about that in our Groovy Doe Twitter questions, which will probably have a Thursday evening show this week, and we'll talk more about that schedule coming up. But we will, so we'll get into that as well. And are you excited about the Javi Baez?
Javier Baez, yeah.
Signing by the Tigers?
I don't know. He strikes out a lot. I mean, it's a guy that's in his prime that I think it's a decent signing. Do I think it's like a Pudge Rodriguez kind of thing? But, I mean, Riley Green, Torkelson, and Baez, I mean, I'm all right with it.
I'm 100% good with not spending more than $300 million.
Yeah, but why do we care about that? We talk about Ishbia. I don't care what the Illich spent.
Well, here's what I have to say. If they didn't want to, they had a hard line at like $300 million, and that's fine to me.
Yeah,
because if you don't want to get caught in some 10-year deal with some guy you're going to be paying when he's 40, and I get that. But what I don't want to see is you got what I think is a pretty decent deal, $140 million over 6 years. Guy will be, you'll never pay him in a season where he's like over 35 years old. I like that. But then if you were prepared to spend $300 million and you got a guy for $140, I want to see you use that other $160 somewhere. Don't just sit here and go, we got a bargain. There's no fucking salary cap, man.
Well, and that's why I don't mind if you pay a guy like Miggy Cabrera that came from the Marlins and almost had back-to-back triple crowns. If you're going to pay that guy into his late 30s, I don't give a shit. It's the Illich's money. Yep. Why not? But if they're going to sit there and be tight with it, I agree with you to spend it, money, elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm good with it. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the Tigers making moves. I hope there are more things to happen. I don't have quite the vibe that I had when they signed Pudge all those years ago. Like that was like, oh, wait a second.
It's like, why is he doing that?
The Tigers trying to win
$50 million, okay, but still, why is he doing that?
But here's the thing, and I listen to people go, oh, the Tigers have been abysmal for 5 years, and it's been the longest stretch. When they signed Pudge, they had been abysmal for a decade. It's amazing that we're even Tigers fans.
2003 was horrendous.
Yeah, well, 94 was their first losing year they went 94 to 2000 through 2005, losing with a losing season every year. Yeah, our adolescents were lost to the Tigers just always sucking, and
the Lions were good or decent.
It's amazing that we've made it this far. All right, let's take a really quick break here. We come back. Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic. Couch in the Rue, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Cask & Company in Front 43.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Sky Mint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Sky Mint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Sky Mint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Sky Mint Cannabis. You'll love this place.
Find Couch and a Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, and our midweek show, also brought to you by Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. That's just north of Frandor on East Saginaw and Lansing. Very pleased now to be joined by Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic, who covers Michigan and Michigan State and the Lions. And, fuck the Lions. We're not really going to talk about them today. But Michigan and Michigan State, there's lots to get into.
We're dropping MFers now?
And
damn right.
So I'm guessing this also wouldn't be a good time for you to take more paternity leave.
No, man. That'd be bad. I'd probably get frowned upon for that one. So we're good on that.
So I liked your piece, for people who haven't seen it, a really good piece on so how this all happened, how they beat Ohio State, and how they keep it going. First of all, did you see the Ohio State thing coming?
No, not like that. No, I mean, I think that the thing I told people all week was that I think if Michigan plays it, their best game of the year, then they have enough to get it done in a way. And I thought they had more than Michigan State did in that situation. Like, I think they had enough on the lines and enough in the skill positions. But it had to be, like, perfect, like they had to play, I thought, really, really good, and then just kind of get some breaks. Like, I thought they were going to get the ball ran down their throat, too. Like, I thought it was going to be – they were going to have to win in the 40s. Did not expect it to be as physically dominant as it was, no. That was a little bit surprising. But I tell you what, Graham, like, middle of the first quarter, I thought this is where this is going. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it looked like, when the Lions right up front, especially when Michigan had the ball. So not shocked, I guess, but, pretty surprised, I'd say.
No, yeah, it was one of those things where you started to see as the game unfolds. You're like, "Where's that live betting line? I think I can still get. I can
still find that thing.
still get on this." No question. So, any chance, like, when you look at the matchup with Iowa, and from talking to people who cover Iowa, one of their problems is they are young at the tackle position. That is a bad place to be young against Michigan, given who their defensive ends are. Like it. And matchups matter in college football. And I mean, obviously, we saw the Michigan State-Ohio State matchup. That is a matchup that did not go well for MSU. Is there any way you see this going poorly for Michigan and well for Iowa this week?
Yeah, I mean, Iowa's done this to Michigan before. It's going to have to be Michigan's offense is going to have to just completely stall out. They're going to have to take the run away in a way that no one else has done this year. And then, on top of that, I think Iowa's going to have to move the ball. And it's not just the tackles. I mean, their quarterback situation is not what I would call ideal at all. The run game is solid and everything else, but it's going to have to be one of those, like, Iowa's going to have to win it like 13-10 or something, I feel like, or 17-14 or whatever, a couple possession game like that where it's super low scoring and they're just going to have to keep them off the scoreboard like any way they can. I think that's Iowa's recipe most of the time in this game or in games like this. I feel like when they play a team that has kind of weapons like this, because they just don't have – it's not one of those years for Iowa where they have the guys and the lines on defense, but, yeah, you said the tackles just aren't there, and then it's just not there at quarterback yet. So I think it'd be pretty tough for Iowa to get this done.
Is beyond – I mean, I think what happened against Ohio State changes the way we look at Michigan, right? And so do you start to look at them as, okay, wait a sec now, what happens if they're one of the four teams and – if they wind up against and obviously being ranked as they are now, number 2, pretty good chance they can avoid Georgia until the final game. I mean, is this a team that has a chance to get there, and then if they get against a Georgia team, hold their own?
I don't know if they can hold their own. I mean, that's because I don't know if I don't think Ohio State defensively is on that level. I mean, I think Ohio State's, they played their best game of the season against Michigan State. It's funny. Michigan State got the full Buckeye experience for probably the first time in a good minute here. Although a couple years ago, I guess they got run up there pretty good. But, everybody knows what happens when you run into them on the wrong day and you get blown off the field. But, I feel like Georgia's defense is a different animal. I don't know if they could do the things that they want to do the way they want to do them for 60 minutes against Georgia. Cincinnati, yes. Alabama, I don't know. I mean, Michigan moved the ball against Alabama a little bit a couple years ago in the Citrus Bowl, more than people probably remember. So I'd be interested there. Georgia seems like a different deal, though. They seem like they're running on gasoline and dynamite or something. I don't know. It's a different deal. Alabama, too. So those would be tough. Those would be the ultimate tests. I think those two teams, though, are on different levels in Ohio State in terms of everything up front, but I guess we'd have to see it.
Yeah, Georgia's defense can play angry. Georgia's defense is the one that scares you when you look at him. You're like, don't hit me, please, just don't hit me. So your Twitter timeline, and the fact that you cover Michigan and Michigan State, you get to this moment in time, and there are so many different emotions going on with the people who read you. And one thing that we're trying to, my sense is, as excited as Michigan State fans are for the prospect of a New Year's Six Bowl, they'd love to be in the Fiesta Bowl. And now that they're the 11, there's a decent chance if everything holds this weekend that they're going to get one of those spots. But they would gladly slide down to the Citrus Bowl to see Michigan suffer against Iowa.
Right.
Is that your sense of things?
I think that yes, and I think that that's a warranted want because, if I'm a Michigan State fan. And it's not. This isn't a shot or whatever. But if I'm a Michigan State fan, and I am confident in Mel Tucker, and I'm confident in his recruiting plan and everything else, the one thing I'm actually excited that Notre Dame is collapsing because that's a terrific thing for Michigan State too. The one thing I don't want though is Michigan going to the playoff. I don't want Michigan winning the Big Ten for the first time in however many years and then going to the playoff because for all the confidence that I do have, I think it makes it that much more difficult to get where you want to go, if you're Mel Tucker. And, he's pretty much, pointed it right there. And I think that the blueprint for Michigan State is to find their way to recruit at that level, get up there. It would help, of course, if Michigan wasn't at, full functioning, whatever, confidence and everything else. But you know what? I think you're going to have to deal with that either way. And I do think, though, at the end, though, Graham, I think most people, Michigan State fans, looked at the carousel here this week and probably told themselves, well, thank God. They thought we are not dealing with that because that thing, we all knew it. Everybody that covers the sport, we all knew it was going to be a mess. Maybe not to this degree, but I think we knew it was possible, and no one wanted to be involved in this if you could avoid it. So, yeah, I think that's the big takeaway for me for Michigan State right now more than anything else. Yeah, no,
I'm with you. And the other thing about the Fiesta Bowl to me has some gravitas, but the Peach Bowl to the Citrus Bowl, I don't know that the way we think of them is all that different, right?
Michigan played in the Peach Bowl a couple years ago, and half the team didn't play. They quit. They sat the game out because they were just whatever. Yeah, it's not the same. I agree. I totally agree.
And so I
don't know, but they made it that way. They forced the Peach Bowl. The New Year's Six group forced the Peach Bowl in, and they were like, "You guys have to just start accepting this as." And it's no, not really. The Fiesta Bowl has history. The Orange Bowl has history. The Peach Bowl, what the hell's that?
It's sort of like when they had the Leaders and Legends divisions, and they said Indiana and Michigan State, you guys are rivals. Well, wait a second.
Right. No, we did not agree to this.
We're not really. Right. We're not there. Right. I
agree. It's weird. It's not as good. I agree.
I'm with you on the carousel though for Michigan State. You don't want to be in. Maybe they could have made a play at Narduzzi this year and gotten him, and they would have been okay and things like that. But you don't want to be a part of this mess, especially if you're kind of. I don't want to say but if Michigan State would not be high man on the totem pole in this carousel either. So you're not getting maybe your first choice and things of that nature. When you look at this. Like to me, the one thing MSU has a chance to do now by winning that game against Penn State, and I'm not sure if you got to watch any of that with all the Michigan stuff happening or what, but it certainly they gave themselves a chance to be healthier in a showcase game a month from now and leave the world with a decent taste of who they are.
100%. And I think it's so important, when you go back and look at that game to keep in mind, for me anyway, when I sort of took it in after, I watched Michigan, Ohio State, I took the Michigan State Penn State game in, and I tried to take it with the knowledge that, okay, this team just got its doors blown off, 6 days ago. And here it comes again. They had some guys that were out, right? It was not the full boat, all this. It could have gone really bad. And it didn't. It wasn't a perfect game. Penn State's not the best team in the world, whatever. But to me, that was super impressive. And I thought a really big message of, I think, Mel Tucker's process and program, and to be able to get up off the ground and go forward after a loss like that is not something that is a gimme for a lot of teams. And I think that speaks to a lot. I think they're going into the bowl with really good feelings here. And Graham, you're 1,000% right. If you can win, I saw Michigan do this. They won the Citrus Bowl to go 10-3 at the end of 2015, and they springboarded that into recruiting momentum and off-season momentum, and had a terrific start to the next year. It just carried over into the next year. You have to get lucky with some things. Some guys maybe have to come back that you didn't expect or whatever. You get a couple more breaks in the portal. But the momentum and the vibes that you can get from finishing strong like this and having it matter to you, what a trump card that is, too, in a bowl game. You know that.
Yeah.
Going into a bowl game and having it matter to your program is huge. And I think Michigan State will absolutely have that, and I would expect that to be an advantage for them just about in any situation, whoever they play, going, no matter where it's at.
It is interesting because a lot of times, even with the New Year's Six games, but especially with the Citrus Bowl or the Outbacks type bowls, one of the teams that's 10-2 or 9-3 is disappointed to be 10-2 or 9-3 and disappointed to be there. And Michigan State is very much not that. And you can tell they like playing together. They'd like to have a chance to, I think, with Jalen Naylor in the mix to kind of show what they were in October, maybe at their best.
Right.
If you were Kenneth Walker, and Kenneth Walker says right now he plans to play, and I would keep that line to help my team get in the best game possible as long as you need to. But would you play in another football game for Michigan State?
I would probably have to have a long talk with Mel Tucker about that if I were him, and maybe that's something where I know he probably my guess is he probably wants to, and my guess is he'd probably want to give him 40 carries if they asked him to, but my question would be is if you're Mel Tucker, how much do you ask of him, and then how much do you kind of say, hey, look, if you're in a spot where you want to go to the league, we don't want to risk anything. Maybe if there's a couple things you can do for us, maybe you don't want to overload him, whatever. That'll be an interesting one. I never begrudge anybody for that. I know that Michigan had guys that sat out and ended up getting drafted, and it was a decision they made, and it is what it is. And I can't fault anybody for that. I do wonder if NIL has any factor in any of this. I do. That's one of the first things I thought of were these bowl games. If schools could find ways to, buy them back for a bowl game. I don't know, one way or the other. But yeah, that's a tricky one. Tricky question for him, and one that he'll have to think about probably.
And maybe I don't know what the insurance rules are with bowl games and football players, but there might be things he can look at to minimize some of the risks.
Right.
So this is going to be it's going to be a fascinating month. It's going to be a fascinating weekend. I'm curious to see if Michigan can keep this rolling. And Nick, your stuff is fantastic. Enjoy reading it always. Appreciate you taking some time.
Appreciate you, Graham. Thank you.
Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic. You can read him if you go to The Athletic Detroit or his Twitter feed or anything. Just some great stuff on Michigan and Michigan State, and really knows football well. Digs into the nitty-gritty as well as anybody who covers either team. Jason, anything you take from that conversation?
Question. If Michigan State does not make a January bowl game, over under 1.5 players that sit out.
Well, they're going to make a January. So here's the thing. There's a New Year's 6 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's New Year's Day games. So this is where the Peach Bowl thing is kind of fucked up. So the Fiesta Bowl, I think, has great oomph to it. And I overuse that term. Oomph. I'm going to stop doing it. But no, I'm not. But
we'll fix that in post.
Yeah, fix it in post. And that's on New Year's Day. The Peach Bowl is on December 30th. And even though it's supposed to be one of the top bowls, it doesn't feel. But both the Citrus Bowl and the Outback Bowl, both in Florida, are both on New Year's Day, starting an hour apart. Both nationally televised games, both against SEC competition, I believe. And it would probably not fall down to the Outback Bowl. It'd probably be the Citrus Bowl, which is a pretty good game. And Michigan State fans who are our age will remember the pilgrimage to the Citrus Bowl in 1999 for the January 1st, 2000 game when they beat Florida with that team. And I think that was a more talented Michigan State team in certain ways. But that season felt like the program was going somewhere. And I think there's a similar vibe, like the program's going somewhere. And the difference is you haven't just lost your coach to LSU like they did back then. But people traveled. Like, people will be fired up. If they're playing a good SEC team in the Citrus Bowl and I just don't.
So New Year's 6 bowl game.
New Year's 6
over
game.
under 1.5 players that sit out.
Over,
Okay.
I think. Yeah, I think no matter what, they're going to be. Well,
I think Reed and Walker don't play.
Reed's going to play.
Think so?
Because
Okay.
Reed just said the other day that he's never been on this sort of stage before. I think Reed's excited.
Okay.
And I think his NFL stock still can be helped by a good game. Like, if you go back.
See, I think that about Walker, though.
And maybe that's true. And so those are things you got to analyze. If you go back to the game 22 years ago or whatever in the Citrus Bowl, you know, Plaxico Burress wound up being, I think, the 8th pick in the draft, maybe 7th pick in the draft, and he was going to be a high draft pick. But he went down there against SEC and against Florida's defensive backs and had, like, 13 catches, 183 yards, just dominated the game. And that really solidified him as a star. And I don't know how much it aided his, but there certainly is room if you want to elevate. There's risk, and nobody really sat those games out back then. And the Citrus Bowl back then, before Citrus Bowl was truly the number 2. I guess it wasn't entirely, because didn't Michigan go to the Fiesta that year and somebody else in the Rose? But nonetheless, it was even higher in the pecking order than it is now. But it still has a little something to it, the Citrus Bowl. Whereas the Peach Bowl, and I'm not saying the Peach Bowl wouldn't be cool and people wouldn't get into it. It'd still be a New Year's 6 game. It's a night you'd have all to yourself, which is one cool advantage of it. Like the Citrus Bowl, Outback Bowl, and Fiesta Bowl are all going on at the same time. If you're playing on the night of December 30th in the and I'm not, there might be another game on, like Raycom or something, but like, you're the game. That's the game they build it out for. So a lot of people see that game. It's a primetime game. So there are a lot of advantages to it as well. And yeah, we'll have to see where it all winds up. Yeah, I do think, and it was interesting to hear him talk about it not being unfounded, the idea of Michigan State fans wanting Michigan to lose more than them being in a good bowl game.
I don't know if I could find one. I guess maybe the super diehards that go to the coaches show, those Michigan State fans that would definitely want the bowl game. Or those people that root for both teams because they're in Michigan.
Well, I'll give you one.
I can see those people, but any normal Michigan State fan, I can't imagine they would not.
There's a
Iowa.
sector. So if you were to do like one of those circles where you did like a piece of the pie and people intersect and all this stuff, there's a sector of people, though, that were like my dad, who became a Michigan State fan because he moved to land. I mean, he grew up in England and then he lived in Maine, and he didn't give a shit about any of that stuff, right? He liked Y.A. Tittle and the Giants when he first came to this country, but then he's in East Lansing and becomes kind of a Michigan State fan. His son's a Michigan State fan growing up as a little kid, so he'd take me to games, so he becomes a fan. But he was never like, he would have wanted the best thing for Michigan State here, and not. While I don't know if he would have rooted for Michigan, he wouldn't have rooted against them. He didn't have any ill toward Michigan. Like, there are people out there like that too. I think if it's not your alma mater, if you don't.
Well, now I feel bad now that you used the example of your father who's passed away.
That's what
Jesus.
I do. That's what I do.
All right, then I guess I'm rooting for Michigan now.
When I want to make the tone serious and win an argument, I just pull up my dead dad. That's really the play.
Like, who in the hell would root for both teams? And Graham goes into some story about his father. Now I feel great. I'm going to call Harry now.
Yeah. Go ahead and do that, and I'll do a live read about weed. So that'll change the vibe here. Actually, I do want to mention something Skymint is doing here. Skymint is doing something, and you know how we feel about Skymint. They've been great to us. Go to skymint.com for location information and specials, and use the Couch and the Rube promo code Couch and Rube 20 for 20% off. But they're doing some giving back this holiday, and partnership with their clients, with their customers, for both the Food Bank Council of Michigan and the Last Prisoner Project. With the Food Bank, they're hosting a virtual food drives at every Skymint location through December 31st. So you have the option to online shop a list of pre-selected grocery list items at their local network of Michigan food pantries that they desperately need. And the virtual food drive enables the Food Bank of Michigan to pool its buying power and eliminate logistical costs, meaning that every additional dollar donated creates 5 full meals for families in need. Okay, They'll have iPads installed at each store that allow you to virtually build a shopping list or donate to the food bank's online menus. And if you simply want to view the menu and donate anywhere online to save time your next SkyMint trip, you can do so. You can donate online. You can donate. If you sign up for their emails, you'll get messages like this, and you're able to donate there. Really cool thing. We'll talk about the Last Prisoner Project, too, later on, but just a cool way for you to do something for people who need it and for SkyMint to help make that happen. All right, very pleased now to pick the games here presented by Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook with our man Harry Gagnon from ExtraPoints.com, Best Bet Corner, and the amazing podcast with Cousin Sal.
He was in Ann Arbor, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Hammering weed sodas, right, Harry?
I loved it, guys. Hey, man, listen, I had a great time at the casinos in Ann Arbor, in the weed stores. I had a blast. And even though the weather was a little chilly, I had a wonderful time in the state of Michigan.
Did you keep your shirt on?
I did. You know, my buddy who I was with kept bitching and moaning how freezing it was. Meanwhile, him and I we were at the -6 game at Green Bay for the Green Bay Giants game, but he kept bitching how it was so cold. So I ended up not really getting a video there. So kept the shirt on.
There are certain times where you missed the snow bowl, though, the snow globe game, the Winter Wonderland game at in East Lansing. That would have been fun for you too. That would have been a good shirt off.
Boy, that was something, huh?
We could have got you on the field doing like snow angels with no shirt on after doing a video. That would have been incredible.
That would have been great, considering we had Penn State and we couldn't get there last week.
And to mention the name of the podcast, too, Against All Odds is the podcast with Cousin Sal. Harry, these games this week, I'm almost sad that we're running out of college football.
Right.
And we'll dig into the NFL, but it's a point every year where I start to go, you just realize how short it is, right? 12 weeks, and you realize how much you like it. And we'll get into college hoops, and we'll get into every other NFL thing, and eventually we'll be betting baseball. I'm not saying we won't get over it, but it does get a little sad when the list of games gets short.
It really does.
It's depressing. All right, let's go through these. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right, so let's start out with Baylor +5.5 versus Oklahoma State. I really like this Oklahoma State team. I think they're, I don't say considerably better than Baylor, but I think they're more than the touchdown better than Baylor if they play well. Put me on the Cowboys. Where are you, Jason?
Is this neutral site game?
These are all neutral site games.
Neutral site game. Man, Oklahoma State does give up a lot of points, but Mike Gundy and the mullet, I can't deny it. Give me Oklahoma State. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, I like Oklahoma State. I love Gundy. In this spot here, I don't know if this is uncharted territory for them in the Big 12 Championship, laying the points. They beat Baylor already by 10, but the Bears did beat Oklahoma by double digits, where Oklahoma State struggled last week, and they had been playing great defensively until last week too. Baylor's won 3 in a row here. I think Oklahoma might pull this game out like 24-21. I'm going to take the 5.5 here.
Well, that makes me feel better about it. Not really. I was not going to bet that game anyway. I don't trust.
Listen, Graham, I don't love it here. I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I want to see these two teams go at it, but I do want to see Oklahoma State prevail. I'd like to see them maybe I still want Cincinnati to get in that top 4, but if they don't, I'd like to see Oklahoma State get in there too.
No bets, Harry, at all? You just want to sit back and enjoy a game?
Well,
guy that bets on Chinese basketball overnight?
I'll have something on it, but I'll be. You know what? I don't know if I will have something on it, because at that time, guys, believe it or not, I'll be on my way to Honolulu, so I don't know.
This MFer right here.
Jesus.
Who's got it better than Harry?
Nobody. I will say that there are times, though, that we've all been there. And how many bets do you guys make, like within the 2 minutes before a game starts? You're about to watch it. You're watching the pregame. You're like, wait, I don't have any action on this. I got to care. And all of a sudden, you're like, all right, screw it. I'm on this side, or I'm betting the over, or
so
whatever
true.
it is. It just
so true.
Happens to
Live
be
bet.
Happens to be all the time. And I do that a fair bit, too. That, by the way, live betting in soccer is a great thing to do because you can get the numbers. Anyway,
all right.
Houston +10.5 for Cincinnati. Look, this is Cincinnati needs to win to get in. That's all they need to do. They don't need to cover, but they haven't covered much all year. Houston's a pretty good football team. Give me the Bearcats, or sorry, give me Houston with the points. And I just don't trust Cincinnati. Where are you?
I got to say I'm with you because I like the 10 and a hook because Houston can score and Cincinnati doesn't cover. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, that is true, but I know what Luke Fickell knows what's at stake here. I've got a ticket still out there at 25-1 on the Bearcats to win the national championship. I want them to just continue to roll. Put up a nice game last week against East Carolina. I think they're going to do the same. I think they're going to roll Houston. I'm going to lay the points.
All right, Georgia -6.5 at Alabama, and I love this game with Georgia. Or not Alabama, a neutral site game against Alabama. I think this is an Alabama brand bump that's keeping enough money on this side to keep this thing inside a touchdown. I understand Georgia's strength is defense, so it may not be this juggernaut offensive performance. But I think Georgia is the best team in college football, and I don't think it's that close. And I don't think Alabama is necessarily any better than the next 7 or 8 teams behind them, the way they played this year. Give me Georgia -6.5. Jason, where are you?
Graham, this is a part of my parlay, so I'm going to go all Kirk Herbstreit and say I'm going to have to pass on this one. What do you got, Harry?
Or Cousin
Jason's
Sal
got Georgia.
Or Cousin Sal when he does the Fox pregame on our against our odds.
All right.
On Thursday. Listen, Graham, you couldn't have said it any better. Listen, people who were out there wanting to say, if Alabama keeps this close and loses by a field goal or 4 points or something, they'll have 2 losses, but they still should get in. I don't think so. I think if you look at their schedule, who they've played, honestly, the best team Alabama's played this year is Mississippi. I mean, they got basically if that dude runs out of bounds, doesn't run out of bounds for Alabama, they lose that game last week. They lose that game. Alabama's had close games against LSU, who's had no coach because Coach O was already out and leaving. They barely beat Florida, who gave up 52 to Samford. And they barely squeaked by Arkansas when they were a 3-touchdown favorite. I'm taking Georgia. I think they roll them here. I don't like the way – I just think Alabama's been overrated all year, and screw Saban. He doesn't deserve to go in with 2 losses. I'm taking Georgia in a big, big roll job.
And I think this matters how Alabama loses. They lose by a field goal, they might get in with 2 losses. They get rolled, I don't think there's a chance. Wake Forest +3 at Pitt. And Pat Narduzzi's had an incredible year there at Pitt. Now, I'll give you just to give you a heads up, I have all sorts of money going on here because this is one of the games. I put $50 on Pitt to win the conference before the season. It pays $2,000. Wow. So I got a $2,000 payday coming if Pitt wins. Because what you did, this was one of the things like the Big Ten West and like the ACC Coastal, you always could get long odds because of Ohio State in the Big Ten and because of Clemson. Well, Clemson turned out to be shit. So I had, and I had like 50 on like 4 different teams in the Coastal. So now I've hedged the heck out of Wake Forest. I've got like $600 on Wake Forest to cover, and then I've got $2,000 if Pitt wins. So I've got all sorts of money flying left and right. I'm rooting for Pitt. I think Pitt's the better team. I'll take Pitt in this for our purposes, just for my own mental sanity.
Jesus, you done 69 in yourself over there?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Well, if it means that you lose money, give me Wake Forest +3. What do you got, Harry?
Listen, Jay, we can bust Graham's balls all day long, but I applaud you, Graham. That is beautiful. I'm very impressive with the Pittsburgh for 2,000 to have taken the shot before the season. Look, Hartman, 44 total touchdowns for Wake Forest, 44 total touchdowns for Kenny Pickett. I love the over in this game, by the way, guys, but still, I'm going to side with you, Graham. I hope you get there. I'm going to take the Panthers.
You know who else?
They have a little bit better defense, too.
You know who else is rooting for Wake Forest besides Jason?
Your wife.
My bookie.
Right.
Because that's a nice little. He's actually going to have to meet me.
Nice job, Graham.
Yeah.
Nice job there, though.
All right. By the way, I'm 5 of 6 in the last 2 parlays. By the way,
you're doing well.
Give me some credit here. Should have my picks.
Good point.
Yeah. Okay. Iowa +11 versus Michigan, and look, we've seen these games right where you think it's going to be a blowout and it isn't, and we've seen the vice versa. But we saw the game against Northwestern last year with Ohio State wound up being, this could be. Michigan is not rolling over everybody all year. This is not necessarily a blowout. However, we talked to Nick Baumgardner, who covers both teams for The Athletic, about this earlier, and I don't think it's a good matchup for Iowa. I don't think they can keep pace. I don't think they can protect their quarterback. I don't think their quarterback's that good. I don't think this is one of the better Iowa teams either. So I think the way Michigan's playing right now, I think this gets outside of 2 scores. Give me the Wolverines. Jason, where are you?
God, 11. That number is kind of weird. I'm with you. Michigan is a far better team. I don't like the 11, but give me Michigan given the 11. What do you got, Harry?
Well, let's see what type of coach Harbaugh really is, because he finally got the monkey off his back, but you still got to be focused here for the Hawkeyes. Look, I've mentioned I had a great time in Ann Arbor. Aiden Hutchinson has been fantastic. 6 sacks his last 2 games. He had 3 against Ohio State and Penn State. I'm sitting on like I told you guys, I'm sitting on a 25-1 ticket with Cincy. I'm sitting on an 80-1 ticket with the Wolverines. Let's keep it rolling, Michigan. I'm taking the Wolverines here in a big way against Iowa, who really hasn't played that well the second half of the season.
Yeah, I just don't.
25-1 on Cincy, winning the whole thing.
I have 25-1 on Cincy. I have Michigan at 80.
So will you hedge the heck out of that if they get put up against Georgia?
Remember they played each other in the bowl last year, and it was a close game, only a 3-point game. I don't know. I may have to just let it fly with Cincy at that point, because if what am I going to be able to,
really get back, right?
Hedge, in terms of the money line.
No, I've got the same deal going. I have Iowa, like with Pitt. They don't pay quite as well, but I've got Iowa on a $50 bet that pays like $900, but Michigan's like plus 480 on the money line. You just got to bet. It's just a hard thing to hedge, and you just ride it and hope. But I don't think that's going to happen. All right, the 3 NFL games. Vikings -7 at the Lions. Huge game nationally, obviously. Fuck. I mean, really.
That's a Chris Myers game. That's written all over it.
Yeah, it totally is. It's a touchdown for the Vikings. Look, the Lions are horrible, and the Vikings aren't that bad. Like I get it's on the road and the NFL, but give me the Vikings here. Jason, where are you?
Kirk Cousins can snap the ball from the right tackle and still win this game. Give me the Vikings. What do you got here?
Yeah, Cousins, 23 touchdowns, 3 picks. His stats look great. Sometimes you can't win. Obviously, can't win this big game. And Detroit played him tough for the first one. Probably should have won that game, but I still have some faith in the Vikings. And I think they're still going to squeak in and make the playoffs. I'm going to take the Vikings here.
All right, Broncos plus 9.5 at Chiefs. This was a fight last time. Now it's in Kansas City. The Chiefs have found it a little bit, but the Broncos, if you look at their recent results, have been, it's kind of, they've had some weird up and down results, but they've also, they beat the Cowboys 30-16, and then they lose to the Eagles badly, but then they beat the Chargers last week. I don't trust the Broncos to be horrible. It's Kansas City. It's a Sunday night game. Fuck it. Give me the Chiefs. Where are you at, Jason?
I think I'm going to take the 9.5. I just don't trust the Chiefs to cover that yet. What do you got here?
Yeah, Jay, I'm with you a little bit. I'm not sold on Kansas City just yet. Denver just won back of the Chiefs in the West. The West is crazy. Denver's played well lately, surprisingly. I think that's a big number. That's a big number there. I'm going to take the Broncos.
I like they're still getting the Mahomes bump is kind of like the Alabama bump, All right, the Patriots plus 2.5 at the Bills. The Patriots are playing better for the most part than the Bills right now, and I know it's on the road, but you give me the Patriots as a dog right now, I'm going to take them until I'm sort of proven otherwise. Give me the Patriots. Jason, where are you?
Yeah, it's Buffalo at home. They're going to bounce back. Give me Buffalo. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, I agree. I know the Pats have won 6 in a row, but I'm with you, Jay. I think Buffalo needs a shot in arm in game sort of like this. I think they need a little more, a lot of pressure on Mac Jones on a Monday night game in the cold and the wind in Orchard Park. I'm leaning towards the Bills here.
All right. Well, that's not great, but
Cockburn.
Yeah, the one good thing I do love is my Mac Jones Rookie of the Year bet.
Oh, here we go.
Is really starting to look good. Yeah, it's looking.
Lock it up. You know what? You can lock it up there, Graham. Also because Jamar Chase, his last 4 games, he just hasn't. Since he's played well, but he hasn't been the type of receiver he's been at the beginning of the season. The last 4 games, he's at under 50 yards receiving in all of them. I think you can lock up that ticket. That's a nice one.
Pretty excited about that. Very excited about that. All right, time for our can't miss parlays. You ready, Harry?
Let's do it.
All right, Jason, what do you got?
All right, Harry. Again, by the way, the last 2 weeks I'm 5-1. Just saying. Houston at Cincy, over under 53.5. The Bearcats and their opponents have scored an average of 54.8 points per game in 2021. That's 1.3 more than Saturday's total. And in 2021, games involving the Cougars have averaged a total of 54.5 4 points a game, 1.9 more than that set over-under in this contest. 51 and sunny on Saturday, Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. Give me the over. Georgia versus Bama. We talked about it in Atlanta. Georgia in the Mercedes Dome, where even Chris Eastlick can't bum you out with weather reports. Georgia has covered 8 out of 12 this year, and Alabama was ass versus Auburn last week. Spite bet. Georgia -6 and a hook. And finally, Incarnate Word at Sam Houston State. When you put Sam Houston State versus Incarnate Word into Google, it automatically connects you to the 1-800-GAMBLER hotline. I would give you stats, but there are no stats. Take Incarnate Word plus 14.
There are no stats.
None. Incarnate Word.
Plus 14, right?
Yes.
All right.
Well, I'll tell you, for the championship for the FCS there, I know Sam Houston State is third best odds there. Incarnate Word, I've checked, is like 15th. That's a big chunk of points. That's sick that I know that, but I've looked that up, so I'll take that into consideration with the 14.
Thank you.
All right, we have one game that's the same. I'm all over Georgia -6.5. I just think that's too good, and I don't even think it's Vegas with a fishy line. I just think it's Bama money that's juicing that up, and I like Michigan a lot, but I'm not going to go there because I've got 2 games I like more. I love, and we didn't get into this game today because I wanted to save it for this. I love Utah -3 against Oregon in the Pac-12 Championship Friday night. Utah just destroyed these guys the first time. It was 38-7. Physically, it looked like a mismatch at times. Like Utah was just a better football team. It wasn't some fluke. 38-7. I don't even think there was a single turnover in the game. It's a -3 deal. Oregon's still getting its usual Oregon bump. Give me Utah -3. I just think they're a better football team. I think they'll do it again. And then Thursday, a little Premier League money midweek action. Man U, new manager, playing a lot better. Arsenal team that I've never liked. They are at home against Arsenal, and even money pretty much on the money line. Give me Man U all day. Even money on the money line at home against Arsenal this Thursday. Friday, it's Utah -3 against Oregon, and then Saturday night it's Georgia -6.5 against Bama. Harry, what do you think?
Well, I will say this. I mean, you both got Georgia, and I'm on Georgia as well. I'd love to see Alabama killed in this spot and have Saban go down and have to play in some crap bowl that he doesn't give a shit about. But with the other sides there, I will say this. Houston over. If Cincinnati gets out to an early lead, a big lead, they may back off defensively, making sure no one gets hurt moving forward, and maybe they give up a couple touchdowns late to Houston where this game does go over. I kind of like that too, Jay. And I know a couple weeks ago, guys, my lock, Jay, you know, my lock that week was Utah over Oregon. I loved it. They came in with ease. But in this spot, I think there might be a little bit of payback here for the Ducks. Utah doesn't have that home field that they had there for that game a couple weeks ago. Man U, I'm not sure about either. And you know what? Who knows about Incarnate Word? But I'm taking the 14. I'm going to take Georgia. I'm going to Houston over. Jay, it's you this week.
He got it! He got it! He got it!
Screw soccer. I don't make you watch soccer.
I don't have to watch soccer, but now we got to check Sam Houston against Incarnate Word.
You know what? That was the best part of the whole thing is that actually I said Incarnate Word at Sam Houston State, and Harry had research.
No, absolutely. Harry's the best.
Yes, he is the best.
Harry, you are a beautiful man. Safe travels to Honolulu. We look forward to your videos, and we'll chat next week, man.
Absolutely, guys. Love it.
See you, Harry.
It's Harry Gagnon from the Against All Odds podcast with Cousin Sal, Best Bet Corner, and ExtraPoint.com. Beautiful stuff, as always.
There we go.
I don't mind the other music fading us out. It's pretty
Yeah.
nice. We appreciate all of you guys listening, and
Buy some shirts and hoodies.
yeah, I know if you want to.
Please.
We'll
do
tweet
it.
out. We'll tweet out the link again. Just don't
I have a gambling problem I need to pay for.
That's a very good point. We appreciate SkyMint. Go to skymint.com for location information throughout Michigan. Sign up for their emails, and you'll get the latest deals in your box every day. You'll know when they have a great thing going. And 3 locations in Michigan, throughout the state. Couch and Rube 20 is the promo code for 20% off any SkyMint location. And appreciate Cask and Company in Front 43 Neighborhood Pub. Unbelievable place to watch a game. Give them a shot. Trust me, you will absolutely enjoy it. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
We'll talk to you soon. Couch in the Roof.